Shares of Target up more than 9% on earnings at the time of our taping here. Same-store sales up more than 4%, 4.8%, Jason, for the quarter. Now, we've got strong growth in their digital sales. That includes orders that you make online and pick up at the store. Jason, what's not to like here with Target?
There is not a lot in there to not like. And that's a weird way of saying you got to like exactly what they reported here this quarter. I mean, in a world where Amazon and Walmart have really been at the forefront of the conversation here, and Walmart obviously investing a lot of money into growing their e-commerce business and competing more with Amazon, Target has kind of been able to sort of just keep under the radar and do their thing. But you look at what has gone on over here the past few years. CEO Brian Cornell has got to be feeling really good about where things stand right now. And it's not to say that it's been a straight line up, but when he got there, I think back in 2014, I mean, there was the realization that they needed to make investments in digital and become a 21st century retailer. And lo and behold, I think they've gotten there. And if you look at some of the numbers, if you talked about comps there, this was actually their 8th consecutive quarter of comp growth. But, you know, when you look at digital sales up 42% for the quarter, digital accounted for more than $5 billion in sales last year, supposed to account for more than $6 billion in sales this year. Now, when you put that in the context of a top line that's around $76 billion, I mean, it's not obviously super important, but it's becoming more important as time goes on. And obviously, it's gaining some traction.
It was a good quarter for Target for sure, but you'll notice that with all of this, you know, great comp improvements, and while it is notable that Target is such a retailer that's succeeding in such a challenging industry, it's still a retailer. So you'll notice that despite the company continuing to raise revenue, their cash flow from operations were actually negative. They actually paid out more in cash than they brought in, and that's largely thanks to the fact that they're really kind of paying down in large portions their $10 billion of accounts payable. So there's a little bit of, I guess you could say, earnings management going on here as well, because they knew it was going to be a good quarter. And so they take that hit during the quarters when people are going to be focused on the near 5% same-store sales growth.
Okay, so you're saying maybe we need to slow our roll a bit with Target.
I don't think you should slow your roll. I still like Target as a company, but I will say it's still a retailer. And so I think people can kind of forget that when you have quarters like this. You know, Target is differentiated, has a differentiated strategy, but it still takes a lot of financing and a lot of work to make these companies succeed over the long term. And you'll notice that management expected growth to slow slightly throughout the rest of the year. So while it's a good quarter, I like Target in general. Personally, I think there are better places to put your money.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Jason, you mentioned some of the competition. Who's the bigger threat to Target, Walmart or Amazon?
I mean, I guess I would look at Walmart as probably being the bigger threat because it's the more comparable of the two. I mean, Walmart and Target are kind of those traditional retailers that are having to pivot and change their business model a little bit, at least here, in order to compete more with Amazon. And I mean, one of the signs that they're doing a good job of it, I mean, when they said they wanted to put their stores, the physical stores, at the center of their fulfillment, and that's that ship from store mentality that a lot of these retailers are approaching these days. I mean, they handled over 80% of their digital volume from the actual stores. So they've done a good job of turning those stores into stores/fulfillment centers. But I think Emily makes a really good point here. It costs a lot of money to keep that operation going. I mean, it's not like they've, reached the finish line and now everything's hunky-dory. I mean, this is stuff that they have to just keep on doing essentially on into forever in order to stay competitive. And it really is one of the most competitive markets out there today when you look at what Amazon and Walmart are doing as they jockey for position. So, I mean, yeah, good quarter for sure. I mean, I don't personally own shares of Target. I don't know that this report makes me want to own shares of Target, but I mean, you got to commend them for a job well done.
Definitely. Target's always been forward thinking in that regard. I'd also have to agree, though, that Walmart seems to be the bigger threat. I use threat loosely because I think there's a world in which Target and Walmart both succeed. But in terms of direct competitors, while Amazon does have some overlap, I think the core customer, Walmart, is trying to win over from Target by introducing things like their own independent retail lines for clothing, changing their prices, their pricing structure, changing the experience of shopping in their stores, improving the online pickup sales, all these areas that kind of made shopping at Target a more pleasant experience than shopping at Walmart are slowly, or at least management of Walmart is slowly trying to change.
And I was surprised when I was looking at the stock and looking at the stock chart over the last 5 years. Shares of Target are up, but Target has lost to the market over the last 5 years.
Yeah.
When you look out over the next 5 years, do you think Target's a market beater?
We had that same question in regard to Walmart when we were talking about Walmart versus Amazon. I could see a world where Walmart could very well be a market beater. I think Target's got a little bit of a tougher road ahead. And I think that the biggest problem for them is just it's going to be the spending that they're going to have to do on an ongoing basis. And I think that could prevent the stock really from offering any kind of real attractive gains for investors. I mean, I don't know that I'd be looking at Target today as an investment where I'd call it a market beater.
And they made a big kerfuffle this week with their partnership with Vineyard Vines. You know, the pink whale? It's kind of stylish. Yeah, I kind of think of them as kind of polo-esque. And the stuff just immediately sold out online on Saturday and in the stores on Saturday, so much so that by Sunday, there were 9,000 of these Target Vineyard Vine clothing items on eBay already.
Which is insane. I mean, I guess we never really thought of Walmart and or Target as fashion forward companies. And I mean, I think we posed the question more than once that with Walmart certainly making some of those acquisitions and trying to become a little bit more of an e-commerce business and bring some brands under their umbrella, does a brand lose some cachet when it becomes a part of the Walmart family? And the same question should be asked of Target. I mean, does a brand lose some of that cachet if it becomes part of a sort of a discount retailer's world? I don't know. I mean, I would think probably, but maybe
not as much as it used to. If you're not competing on price, you're competing on service. And historically, Walmart's always been the price leader, and Target's been that service leader. And having Vineyard Vines is probably part of that service experience, right? You're getting that distribution, that demand, but you're not really taking the brand to as low of a level, I guess you could say, as Walmart. That being said, like I said, I feel like Walmart is slowly moving to be both a low-cost provider and a service provider. And if they're able to succeed in doing that, then one-trick ponies like Vineyard Vines aren't going to be enough to save Target.
Okay, well, I think a brand loses cachet when I start to wear it. So that's probably a good sign for Vineyard Vines, because I don't wear Vineyard Vines.
Unless it's Kirkland. I mean, Kirkland, that's when it's on the way up.
It's timeless.
Right?
It is timeless.